There's a joke that has been floating around for, gosh, a long time. And for some reason it fits into my message this morning, and I want to begin with it. It's the story of Dennis. Dennis was walking out on a cliff one day, minding his own business, kind of foggy. And he made a misstep and went over the edge. And he went for a tumble. And it seemed like he fell for an eternity to him. And all of a sudden he was able to grab hold of a limb that broke his fall. And he held on for dear life. He knew he was in trouble. And he was alone. He didn't have anybody to help. He wasn't sure if anybody knew where he was. And he held on and held on and held on and got to the point of exhaustion and was almost ready to turn loose of the limb. And he began to scream, "I need help! I've got to have somebody to help me. Is there anybody up there that can hear me? I need you to help me. I'm in trouble." Not a word. Not a word. He waited a few minutes and then he started screaming again. "Can anybody hear me? I need help." Then all of a sudden this voice says, "Dennis! Dennis, is that you?" "Yes, it's me." Who is this? Where are you?" "This is the Lord, Dennis. And I'm everywhere." "Lord? You mean you're God?" "Oh yes, Dennis. I'm the Lord. I'm here to help you." "Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I need your help. Please, please, please get me off of this limb. Please, I need your help." "Okay, just hang on. Hang on. Now, Dennis, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do what I tell you to do, exactly what I tell you. Oh, Lord, if you can get me off this limb, if you can get me out of this situation, I promise you, I will never sin again. I promise I'll never do anything bad. I'll do nothing but good if you just help me. I promise you, I'll be the best dude you've ever known." "Well, Dennis, let me get you out of your situation first, then we'll talk." "Okay, Lord, but I need your help." Okay, all right. Now, what I need you to do, Dennis, is exactly what I say. "Oh, Lord, you just tell me. You tell me what I need to, it's done." Okay. Here's what I want you to do, Dennis. Now listen carefully. You listen? "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Turn loose. And let go. Silence. Finally, Dennis said, "Help! Help! Is there anybody else up there?" The fog lifted, and Dennis was able to look down, and he was less than 2 feet from the ground. Actually, when the joke is told, it's Jack, but I saw Dennis sitting there, and he kind of expressed like he was enjoying the story. I think the truth is most of us can relate to the heart of that. There are times when we need God's help. We got to have God's help, but we want Him to help us the way we want to be helped. Or that we think we need His help. I don't know about you, but to my own chagrin, I have made written checks with my mouth and my rear end couldn't cash. "Lord, you get me out of this and I'll..." Many times He'd get me out and I would forget the check I wrote. But God is omniscient. He knows everything, so He forgets nothing. That in and of itself should reveal to us the grace of God. What if God dealt with us based on the bargains that we made with Him? I'm like Patty. I kind of shiver at that thought. God is good. And God is everywhere. What I want to call your attention to this morning is a little Psalm 37. And this verse says in verse 1, fret not. And then in verse 7, he says, fret not. Then in verse 8, he says, fret not. Don't fret. We may not use that word, but we use the word anxious. That'd be a good word. Don't be anxious. Or worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Is that possible? Is it possible to really live life on a daily basis in the real world, especially what we're going through right now, and not fret, not worry, not be anxious? To get the answer, all we have to do is process that thought a little bit. Would God tell us to do something that we could not do? Would God tell us to do something that He would not empower or help us to do? Would He tell us to do something that is not important? I don't think so. So if God says, do not be anxious, Wayne. Don't be frightened. Don't be overwrought. Don't worry yourself to death. Because sometimes emotionally we go off the cliff, don't we? I don't know about you, but I've been in some experiences where everything was foggy. I couldn't see up, I couldn't see down. I was caught in between, and the limb that I was holding on to was the limb of worry. You ever been there? And then God has the audacity to say, just do what I tell you to do. Turn loose. Come on. God wouldn't tell us to do something we couldn't do. He wouldn't tell us to do something that was not important. He wouldn't tell us to do something that He would not empower us to do. Everything that we have comes from Him. Yes. Did you hear what I said? Everything we have comes from Him. If you don't believe me, this afternoon, sit down in a quiet place, take your sheet of paper that you have in your hand, and write down things that you have that you didn't get from Him. Start with the breath in your lungs. Why not start there? You heard the guy arguing with God about making stuff, how independent he could be of God, and I really don't need you, God. And God said, okay, it's fine. What can you create? He said, I'll show you. And he grabbed a handful of dirt, and God said, get your own dirt. What is it that we have that was not given to us? Because some reason we have deceived ourselves into believing there are some things we have done based on our ability and our ability alone. I'm excited about the book, The Scam, and again I want to thank Ken for nudging me for several years to get it in print. And I got a call, or an email Thursday saying the book has gone into final publication. And then I got an email yesterday from the marketing department that they work coincide with the publishing department to get things. And I was supposed to talk to them tomorrow. So it's that close now. Thanks, Ken. The Scam. And in that book, we talk about the environment that we were created to live in. If we're not in a particular environment, we can not only survive, we cannot thrive. Before, when God was creating, in the process of creating, read it for yourself in Genesis chapter 1. Before God created a life form, He created the environment for that life form to live in, to survive and thrive in. So before He created fish, Wayne, He created water. Fish was created to live in water. It's the environment that a fish survives in and thrives in, not the dirt. Do you know that before God created plants and trees and shrubs and things like this, He created dirt first? Why? Because dirt is the environment for plants, flowers, and shrubs to survive in and to thrive in. When it comes to man, you remember, man was not created until the 6th day. Not day 1, not day 2 or 3, the 6th day. That is significant because 6 is the number of man. But God had done all the work. All the work was done before man was created. God rested on the 7th day. So God's rest day was man's first day. And so man began his relationship with God in rest, not works. That's important. The question, though, is what is the environment that man was created to survive in? It was surprising that most people say, well, dirt, because just Genesis 2:6, He created man out of the dirt. It says He created his body out of the dirt of the ground and breathed into man. Man became a living spirit, a speaking spirit, a living soul. No, that was his body. We have a tendency to read that verse too quickly. It says God formed his body out of the dust or the dirt of the ground. If you're in Africa, I learned the hard way. I said that Adam came from dirt, and translated into that language was he created Adam dirty. And my interpreter would not say it. And I got frustrated with my interpreter for not saying. He just got quiet. I'm going, did you hear what I said? And I said it again, and he didn't say anything. And I said, evidently he's hard of hearing. So I got a little louder and told him again. He didn't say anything. Finally, he just looked at me like, okay, Whitey. And then he started teaching. I'm going, whoa, I'm the preacher, you're the interpreter. What he was doing was telling them there was a breakdown in language. That I should have used the term soil, not dirt. See, the vernacular is different. And so if he had translated what I said, it was that God created man dirty. And he was saying he didn't, and he was right. So I was getting mad over something I didn't understand. Oh, y'all don't understand that part, do you? I wonder how many grudges we are carrying today because of an assumption. You know, assumption is only true except to the person. I won't even go there. What did the body do when God created it? Nothing. It just lay there. So the body cannot know God, love God, or serve God. The body is made out of dirt, but that's not the real you. You're not a physical being that has a spirit. You are a spirit that has a physical body. This is why when we die, our bodies goes back to what? Dirt. But the real us, we leave here. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. Our physical body is what makes us legal to be here. So the body didn't live until God breathed himself into the body and life came. So that tells us the environment for our survival is God himself. We can't survive outside of God. This is why a person that's lost, that has never received Jesus as their Lord and Savior, is dead already. That's what 1 Corinthians chapter 1 says. Not they will die someday, they're dead already. This is why they have to be reborn. Born from above. So the environment that we were created to live in, to survive in, and thrive in is God himself. What happened in Genesis 3, man stepped out of his environment. He can't survive. And he can't thrive. That's the environment. This is why the psalmist is writing here in Psalm 37. This is about the Lord. He talks about trusting the Lord. He talks about delighting ourselves in the Lord, committing ourselves in the Lord, resting in the Lord. What do these things have in common? What does trust, delight, and commit and rest have in common? The Lord. He didn't say commit to your understanding. He didn't say trust your ability. He didn't say commit to a program or this or that. He didn't say rest in your own laurels. He talked about in the Lord. Why would he say that? That's our environment. We can never lose him. Our understanding is always processing, but the Lord remains the same. So when we trust in the Lord, we are confident we can always trust him because he'll always be. God is eternal. There's no ending to him. There's no beginning to him. We can delight ourselves in the Lord because delighting in him will never end. He will always be. We can commit to him. We can rest in him because he'll always be. Let's look at this psalm. Trust in the Lord. Now, if we're going to trust in the Lord, we're going to delight in the Lord and commit to the Lord and rest in the Lord, then it's going to require something from us. Two things. And it's on your sheet. It requires a definite act of commitment from the heart. A definite act. The second thing it takes is a daily attitude. An act, a definite act, a specific act, and a daily attitude from a submitted heart. That's the requirement. Trust in the Lord. Why would he start with trusting? Remember, it's in context. Don't worry. Fret not, fret not, fret not. Don't be anxious. Lord, how's that part? Okay, it's going to take a commitment out of your heart, a definite act, and a daily attitude of trusting in the Lord. You see, trust and anxiety are mutually exclusive. We can't trust in God and be anxious at the same time. Have you noticed that what he says to focus on? He didn't say focus on your worry. He said focus on the Lord. Wow. That's pretty good. Trust in the Lord. Place your confidence in the Lord. Believe in the Lord. Have faith in the Lord. So when I think about that, I say, okay, my heart has made this commitment to him. And if I will remind myself on a daily basis that I can have an attitude of trust. It's not that that doubt or anxious moments won't come. They will. I promise you they will. But they don't capture us. We can capture them. How? By trusting in the Lord. Let me ask you something. What are you trusting in? Just rhetorical. I'm not asking you to say it out loud, but think about it. What are you really trusting in? Your job? The security that you have in what you do or don't do? Or what are you really trusting in? What's your confidence in? Your ability? Your salesmanship? Your intellect? Personality? Experience? I'm not saying those are not good, but those are always changing. The Lord never changes. Do you know you'll never have confidence in anything that you don't trust? You'll never have confidence in anyone that you don't trust. You know why we don't have confidence in the Lord? It's Jack. Is anybody else up there? all I had to do is turn loose. You're not going to trust anybody you don't have confidence in. Do you trust the Lord? Really? Delight yourself, in verse 4. Delight yourself in the Lord. Be captivated by the Lord. Delight, delight, delight. I love to see people that love each other. You know it's obvious. It's also obvious when people don't love each other. But you can't hide it. If you really love somebody, you remember when you first started dating? Dennis is going, no. Well, I remember Linda telling me the story when you begged her for several years just for her to go out with you. Fine. She told me she did because she felt sorry for you. You know, I forgot. I made a promise not to ever tell him that. Oh, what the heck. But can you tell when people are in love? You know what is more inspiring than seeing two young people in love is to see people that have been together for years and crazy about each other. I was writing this morning early some notes that I'm going to write a book about the Proverbs 32 woman. You say, wait a minute. There's only 31 Proverbs. There'll be 32 when I get through because it's about VA. It's a book about VA. And I just, when I have a thought, I'll jot it down and hide it away, and I'll pull it out later. And this thought came to my mind. I know I'm not your first in everything. Or, excuse me, I know I'm not your first in anything. Because we've both been married before. But I want to be your last in everything. See, I'm not smart enough to think of stuff like that. That had to come from God. I'm not your first in anything. But I want to be your last in everything. If there's anything that BA has taught me, it's what love really is. I tell this all the time, and I know there are those who don't believe it, but I don't give a rip. At this age, you really don't really care what people think. Yeah. And that's a good place to get in, Patty. You get our age, it really don't matter, because it's true. My wife BA has never raised her voice to me. Not one time. She's never pouted, never said talk to the hand, or give me the cold shoulder. Never. I've never known anybody like that. You know what that does to me? It keeps me free. I can come up with some incredible ideas. I really can. And she's never once said, that's kind of stupid. Now, I come up with some ideas that later on I look back and go, ooh, where'd that come from? Ooh, that's bad. Glad I didn't do it. But here's what she will say. When I'll share something with you, she'll say, well, I trust you. Do you have any idea what that will do to you? It makes you start pumping the brakes. Because you won't do anything to bring any harm to her. And there's some things that I tried that just didn't work, and she never said, it wasn't going to work. I knowed it when you said it wasn't going to work. She's never said that. You know what that's done for me? It's given me freedom to fail. You know what's lacking in most of us? We don't have anybody that will let us fail. This is why we'll talk about all our victories. Especially guys. We don't mind talking about how victorious we are, but we don't want to talk about our failures. But when you're in a relationship where they allow you to make a mistake, that's a different ballgame. And when as we grow mature, we really can't fail. We can do things that don't work, but that doesn't make us a failure. We just find out there's one way not to do it. Another way. Amen?
Yes.
Now you can see why I'm going to write Proverbs 32 woman. It's going to be a bestseller. I'm going to buy every copy. Because I trust you. Delight. Take that concept and God will let you make a mistake. Does He want us to make mistakes? No. No. But He's always there when we even refuse to turn loose. He'll never force us or pry our fingers loose and make us turn loose. We can tell Him we messed up. And He doesn't chide us for it. He loves us through it. That's what He's saying. Delight yourself in the Lord. Not in your ability. Don't delight yourself in your circumstance. Delight yourself in the Lord. Why? He doesn't change. He's for you. He's for you like no one else can be. He's perfect. He's perfect. Delight yourself in the Lord. What are we talking about? How do we not worry? How are we victorious over anxiety? He says, well, trust in me. Put your confidence in me. Delight yourself in me. When we are consumed by Him, our thoughts about other things are minuscule. Then He says, commit your way to me in verse 5. Commit. Pledge. Dedicate. Bind. The best illustration I know about commitment is jumping out of an airplane. I've done it many, many times. I don't plan to ever do it again. Last time I did it, I was almost 50 years old. That was stupid. Don't think you can't wet your pants. You can't. Y'all know that story. My son calls me. He's turning 21. He says, Dad, I know what I want for a birthday. I said, what? He said, I want to skydive with you. I go, shoot, let's do it. Let's do it. So I go over to an airport close by town and buy a certain package for us. And the day comes, we're over there on Saturday morning, going through a few hours of training, watching videos, looking at equipment. And they said to me, they said, Mr. Kniffen, when's the last time you jumped? And I go, 68. They go, well, you're going to have to be latched to or tied to a jump master. We won't let you jump on your own. Then my son was staying there, and I didn't want to look like a wimp, so I go, oh, man. But inside I was going, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. I know I'm weird, but I did it. When you leave the plane, you're committed. There's no. That's commitment. See, we talk about, well, I'm committed to God. Well, I'm committed. We are, and our emotions are, yeah, we are, until we get a better opportunity or we forget. Or things that we struggled with, now we seem to be victorious. We didn't consciously say, God, I don't need you today. I'm not going to delight in you today. It just is a natural process because we don't intentionally say, today I'll have this attitude of submission. Today I'll love God. Today I'll trust Him. Today I'll delight in Him. Today I'll commit to Him. The week is gone and that struggle is over. And guess what? There comes another branch. And we go through the same scenario again. And He stays loving and kind and gracious. Whew. Then He says, rest in the Lord in verse 7. Cease from your work. Rest, 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 rest. You know what rest is? I saw this in my mind the other day. In my house, there's a chair that I sit in. It's called a chair and a half. Because before I lost all this weight, I needed a chair and a half to sit in. Let some of you wake up and hear what I just said. Yeah. I love that chair. So when you come back, don't sit in my chair. You'll know it's my chair. Be obvious when you say, how do we know it's your chair? You'll know it's my chair. I love to sit in that chair and rest. Now, what the chair is doing something for me. The chair is providing the environment for me to cease from my work. That's what God said. Rest in me. I'm the one that can provide the rest that you need. Rest in me. Rest. Find your rest in me. Do you know that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is rest? Now, I can teach that and preach that, but you know, it's hard for me to live because I'm a doer. I don't have time to rest. Got things to do. Resting can be the most difficult thing you can do. I'm just telling you. Especially if you have a mentality, I got to get her done. I got to get her done. If I don't do it, nobody's going to do it. Anybody in this room can relate to that? I know some of you because I've worked with you 20 years. I know I've seen you at work. If you were to rest, it'd be in a coffin somewhere. Rest in the Lord, just like you trust in the Lord, just like you delight yourself in the Lord, just like you commit yourself to the Lord, you rest in Him. He's the one that provides that zone, that place of support and comfort. Psalms 37 is a great psalm. If there's a passage of scripture that we need to hear more today than this one, I'd like to see it. Because I'm telling you, I'm talking to Christians, are filled with fretting, worrying. I know what I'm talking about. I fight it on a daily basis. It doesn't come easily. It doesn't come naturally. It has to be done on purpose and intentionally. Yeah. And you keep committing, you keep resting, you keep trusting, you keep delighting until all of a sudden you find yourself being released and you find relief. It may not come at first, and the enemy knows that. This is why he doesn't want you to turn loose. Keep hanging on. Keep hanging on. But when the fog begins to lift, we only see, oh my gosh, it was that close. You want to hear my best Spanish? Chess. Yes. It's that close. So the Word of God says, trust in the Lord. Delight yourself in the Lord. Commit your way to the Lord. The Word, guys, we don't know how to commit our way. We commit our problem. Listen to me carefully. You need to get this. Your problem doesn't move God. Your problem never moves God. The content of your heart does. He says, roll your way upon the Lord. Roll your way. He doesn't say roll your problem. See, we're taking our problems by this one as if he didn't know. Did he know that Dennis was on that limb? Yeah, I'm the Lord. I'm everywhere, Dennis. Do what I tell you next. Okay, I'll do it. You just tell me what to do. I'll do it. Turn loose. Oh, anybody else up there? We're giving him our problem. He says, I don't care about your problem. I know what your problem is. I just want you. Roll your way upon the Lord. Let me give you a little proverb here. This is really good. The one who wrote this proverb says, in Proverbs 30, he says, there are three things which are too wonderful for me. I can't hardly describe them. He said, oh, wait a minute. There are four. I don't understand. He says, verse 19, 30, 19, he says, the way of an eagle in the air. You know what he said? The way of an eagle in the air? The way of an eagle in the air. Then he says the way of a serpent on the rock. Then he says the way of a ship in the midst of the sea. Then the way of a young man with his girlfriend, his maid. He talks about the way. What did Psalm 37? Roll your way. What is he saying? The way of an eagle. Have you ever seen an eagle fly? If you want to see something, around October, go west about past the feed yard and take double E. And when you take double E, start looking up. Around October, you'll be stunned how many eagles you see. They're way up there. You may see one sitting on a fence post, or two of them fighting over a prairie dog, a sod puppy, or something like that. It's amazing. Alex had never seen an eagle, and so I took her out there, and she'd see a hawk. She said, "Dad's that an eagle?" I said, "No." I said, "Sweetheart, when you see it, you'll not have to ask me." She'll see a kite. She goes, "Is that when you see an eagle, you're not going to have to ask me." Pretty soon she goes, "Oh. There's one," and it was. It had a certain way. You don't mistake it for a sparrow. You don't mistake it for a kite. It's an eagle. It has a certain style, a certain way. When you see a serpent on the rock, or you like me, you head the other way. If you want me to mess up my jeans, I'll open up the feed room to feed the horses, and if there's a snake coming out of there, so am I. That's the first thing I'm looking for when I open that door. Oh, my Jesus. Do you ever see a snake on a rock and go, "Is that a frog? Is that it?" No, you know it's a serpent. You know it's a snake. Why? It has a certain style. That's the way of a snake. That's what he's talking about here. He says, the way of an eagle, the way of a serpent on the rock, the way of a ship. Do you ever mistake a canoe or a kayak for a ship? No. There's a difference. Why? Because a ship is majestic, it's big, and it has a style of its own. You know it's a ship. To an old country boat, when I first saw my first one real life, I said, "That's a big boat." And they told me on the Port Houston dock, "That's not a boat, son, that's a ship. There's a difference between a boat and a ship." Oh. The way of a man with his girlfriend, with his mate, when people are in love, they have a certain style, a certain way about them, don't they? That's what he says when he says, "Roll your way" in Psalm 37. I want you. If I have you, I've got your problem. We want to give him our problem without giving him. There's our problem. We think our problem is the problem, and that's the problem. The problem is us. Roll yourself upon. I want you, Wayne. Oh, turn loose. But I don't know how far it is down. It doesn't matter. Just turn loose. Let me give you a couple of takeaways. Trust and fretfulness are mutually exclusive. It is impossible to trust and fret at the same time. You can't. It's one or the other. Number two, waiting is sometimes the best way to do the will of God. We define it often that you got to be doing the will of God. Sometimes waiting is the best way to do the will of God, and waiting can be the most difficult thing you do. Blessed are those who wait upon the Lord, for they will renew their strength. Waiting is at that red light, and we get patient at red lights, impatient at red lights. Next time you're at a red light and it turns green, just sit there for a second. You know what I'm saying? Get behind Daniel. Come on, Daniel. Old people just slow. Can be the most difficult thing, waiting. We like the green lights. We like to go, 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 go. But God knows that in life there are more red lights than green lights. Because it's at the red lights that we learn. When they're green, we're too busy going to learn. So waiting is sometimes the best way to do the will of God. Number 3, our problem does not move God. The content of our heart does. And the last one is this: trusting in the Lord, delighting in the Lord, committing to the Lord, and resting in the Lord is a choice of the will. Yeah. Feelings may or may not be involved. See, that's got us in trouble. We think feelings are fundamental to faith. They're not. If we wait to pray when we feel like it, you know what? We're not going to pray much. If we wait until we feel like sharing Jesus with people, we're probably not going to share much. Feelings are not fundamental to faith. They may be present, they may not be present. It's an act of the will. Well, I don't feel like trusting. It doesn't matter how you, I don't feel like turning loose. It doesn't matter how you feel. It's an act of the will. And I gave you a Corrie ten Boom. Gosh, dog, I wish you hadn't said this. I would have claimed it. Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Isn't that good? Yeah. I'm going to steal it from Corey. So if you repeat that and say, Wayne said this, I'll take it, okay? Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. It is the unknown that gives us our problem. It's the unknown that makes us anxious. It's the unknown that makes us worry. How are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? When's this going to be? It's the unknown. It's not about the unknown. It's about the knowing God. Oh, you do know Him, don't you? Dennis did. Lord. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. I want to get out of it. Okay. Do what I tell you to do. I'll do it. Turn loose. Ooh. Anybody else up there? Is there another way? See, we don't have to know the unknown. Faith is not required in that. What we need to know is the known God.